Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. I never imagined that a normal evening could change the way I looked at my husband forever. It started like any other night: dinner, a few laughs, and the quiet comfort of knowing we had each other. We've been married for 5 years now, and though we've seen ups and downs, our love always found a way to shine through. But that night, it felt different from the very beginning. There was something in the way he looked at me, calm on the outside, but his eyes held a secret he wasn't ready to tell. I remember walking into our bedroom, the soft lights casting a golden glow across the room. Everything was in place, yet something had clearly been changed. The bed was neatly made with fresh sheets, there was a subtle scent of my favorite candle in the air, and soft music played in the background. It was almost cinematic, like he'd been planning something for days. My heart started to race, a mix of curiosity and nervous excitement bubbling inside me. What exactly was he planning? He greeted me with a soft smile, holding a small box behind his back. "Just relax," he whispered, pulling me gently toward the bed. My mind started racing. Was this going to be a romantic surprise? A gift? A trip? Or was it something deeper, something that would test the very heart of our relationship? I wanted to believe I was ready for anything. But the truth? I had no idea what was coming. You know that feeling when you think you're in control, but something shifts and suddenly, you're not? That's exactly what happened. He did something that I wasn't expecting, something that left me frozen for a moment, not knowing whether to laugh, cry, or just hold him tighter. It wasn't about what he gave me, it was about what it meant. It reached into a part of me I didn't even know was waiting to be touched. Love is strange like that. Sometimes it comes quietly in gestures we overlook. Other times, it shakes us awake with surprises that seem simple on the surface but carry so much emotion underneath. Our bedroom became a place of rediscovery that night, not just of passion, but of trust, vulnerability, and the kind of love that speaks without words. But just when I thought the surprise was over, he said something, one line that changed everything. And in that moment, I wasn't sure if I was still standing on solid ground or falling into a new chapter of our life that I didn't see coming. What do you think it was? What would you do if the person you love the most suddenly revealed something you never expected? Before I tell you what he said, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been caught off guard by someone you love, in a beautiful or surprising way? Drop your story in the comments. Or vote in the poll below. Do you think surprises help relationships grow stronger? Stay tuned for part 2, because the real surprise is just beginning. I stood there, heart pounding, watching his eyes search mine for a reaction. He still hadn't handed me the box. He just held it there, like he needed me to feel something before even opening it. I wanted to speak, to ask what was going on, but I couldn't find the right words. All I knew was that something was shifting between us, and I wasn't sure if I was scared, excited, or both. There was warmth in the room, yes, but also a silence that carried weight. Like this moment was much bigger than either of us realized. I started to think back over the past few months. He had been distant at times, not in a cold or angry way, but more like he was lost in thought. I'd catch him staring at me during dinner or when we'd watch TV, like he was memorizing something. I'd ask him what he was thinking, and he'd just smile and say, "You'll see." I thought he was just being sweet. But now, standing in our bedroom with that box between us and that look in his eyes, I realized he had been building up to this moment all along. We've always been close. More than just husband and wife, we've been best friends, partners, each other's safe place. But even in the strongest marriages, there are parts we don't always show right away: dreams, fears, desires that live quietly inside us. Was that what this was? Was he about to share something he'd never said out loud before? He finally took a step closer. I could feel the warmth of his hands, steady but nervous, as he placed the box in mine. Still, he didn't speak. I looked down at it, then back up at him. His silence said more than any words could. And just as I was about to lift the lid, he whispered my name, so gently, like he was afraid the sound might break something between us. That whisper sent a chill down my spine. What could be inside that box that made him look at me like that? And why did it feel like opening it would change everything? I held my breath, caught between love and uncertainty, standing in a moment I knew I'd never forget. My hands trembled as I held the small box. I could feel how carefully he had wrapped it, the ribbon tied with almost obsessive neatness. It was light, too light to be jewelry, and somehow that made my heart race even more. He didn't say anything else, he just stepped back a little, like he needed space to let me choose whether to open it or not. I looked at him, searching his face for clues. His lips were pressed together, and his eyes, they looked almost scared. Not of me, but maybe of what this would mean for us. Slowly, I untied the ribbon. The moment stretched out longer than it should have, like time itself was hesitating with me. I lifted the lid and inside was a single key. Just one, silver, simple. I stared at it, confused, then looked back at him. "What is this?" I asked, barely above a whisper. He swallowed hard. "It's for the other room," he said softly. The other room. My heart skipped. That room had been locked ever since we moved in. I asked about it once, and he brushed it off, saying it was just storage. I didn't push. I trusted him. But now, standing here with this key, I realized there was something in our house, in his life, that he'd been hiding. And he'd chosen this moment, this very intimate, romantic night, to finally open that door. Why now? He looked down, then back up at me. "There's something I need to show you," he said. But I couldn't until I was sure. Until I knew you were ready. I wanted to ask, ready for what? But the words caught in my throat. 100 questions rushed into my head. Was this about his past? Something he'd been holding back all these years? Or was it something more recent, something he didn't know how to explain? And then another thought hit me. What if this had nothing to do with pain? What if it was something beautiful, something vulnerable, that he was just afraid I wouldn't understand? That kind of fear, that's love too, isn't it? What do you think is behind the door? A hidden part of his past? A surprise that could change everything between us? Tell me in the comments, what would you do if your partner revealed a locked room after years of silence? Make your guesses below. The truth is closer than you think. The key felt heavier in my hand now, like it carried more than just metal, it carried weight I didn't yet understand. My husband stood a few steps behind me, close enough for comfort but far enough to let me make the next move. He wasn't rushing me. His silence was calm, but his eyes were loud with emotion. There was something almost pleading in his expression, as if he hoped I'd open that door and still choose to stay beside him afterward. I walked slowly down the hallway toward the closed room. The door had always just been there, quiet, untouched, blending into the background of our home like a painting you stop noticing. But now, every step toward it echoed like a heartbeat. I could feel him following behind me, his presence steady, quiet, waiting. I held the key tighter, each breath shorter than the last. What was I walking into? The doorknob was cold. I looked at it for a second, then looked back at him. "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice almost cracking. He nodded slowly, and said just one word. "Yes." His voice wasn't firm, it was soft. Vulnerable. And that scared me more than anything. I slid the key into the lock. It turned with a quiet click, and I paused. My fingers trembled, not from fear exactly, but from everything this moment now meant. I pushed the door open. The room inside was dark, still, untouched. As the door creaked open further, a faint scent hit me, familiar, but I couldn't place it. My husband reached past me and flipped on the light. And what I saw, it didn't make sense at first. My mind struggled to put the pieces together. The room wasn't a storage space. It was carefully set up, like a story waiting to be told. There were photographs. Framed memories. A soft chair. A journal on a desk. Things that didn't belong to me, but somehow felt connected to me in ways I didn't yet understand. And then I saw the name on the spine of the journal. I recognized it. My knees went weak. But before I could speak, he stepped beside me, gently took my hand, and said, "There's something you need to know. And I couldn't tell you until now." What do you think is in that journal? What secret has he kept hidden all this time? Is it a love story, or a heartbreak buried too long? Drop your theories in the comments, your guesses might be closer than you think. I stepped fully into the room, the scent becoming clearer now, lavender, soft and oddly familiar. The kind of scent that hangs onto memories. I looked around slowly, trying to make sense of everything. The photographs weren't random. They were of me. Moments from the early days of our relationship, even one from our first weekend trip together, one I didn't even know existed. But what struck me wasn't that he had them, it was that they were all taken from angles I'd never seen before. As if someone had been watching quietly, collecting them all this time. I turned to the journal, my fingers brushing across the name on the cover again. Emma Rose. That was my name. But the handwriting, it wasn't mine. My heart thudded as I opened the first page. The first line hit me like a wave. For the day she remembers who she really is. I blinked, my mind racing. What did that mean? My husband watched me, not saying a word, his hands folded together, holding something back. I turned another page. The entries were written like letters, to me. Each one filled with love, longing, and memories that felt familiar yet distant. It was like reading pieces of a life I half remembered. Details about things I'd forgotten or maybe, never even knew. And then it hit me, this wasn't just about him hiding something. This was about me too. What is this? I asked, my voice shaking. He came closer, placing something in my hand. A small, worn necklace. I gasped softly when I saw it. I had one just like it when I was younger, but I lost it years ago, long before we even met. Or I thought I had. He finally spoke. Emma, we've met before. Long before we fell in love again. You just don't remember. My breath caught. What do you mean? He looked down, his voice low and full of emotion. You were in an accident. Years ago. Before we were married. You lost pieces of your memory. Your family chose to protect you from the pain, and I promised them I wouldn't tell you until you were strong enough to choose whether to remember. This room, these journals, they were our life before everything changed. The room spun. My heart felt like it was caught between two timelines, one I remembered, and one I never even knew I had. Was everything we built now just a repeat of what we once had? Or was it something new, reborn out of something lost? I took a step back, overwhelmed, holding the journal, the necklace, the weight of a truth I never asked for. He waited, watching me silently, unsure if I'd take another step toward him or away. What would you do if you found out the love of your life had once been part of a forgotten past? Would you want to remember, or leave it buried? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is where the story takes a turn no one expected. My hands trembled as I held the journal to my chest, feeling the weight of every untold memory, every moment I hadn't lived but somehow had. I looked at him, my husband, the man I thought I had met 5 years ago. But now, I saw someone who had loved me long before I ever knew him. Someone who chose to love me twice, even when I forgot. The silence between us stretched, heavy and filled with everything unsaid. I wanted to scream, cry, run. But mostly, I just wanted to understand why he waited this long. You should have told me, I said softly. I wanted to, he whispered, his voice raw. But I didn't want to force your past back on you. I needed you to choose me again, freely. And somehow, despite everything, I understood. Because even with the shock, the confusion, and the buried memories, I still loved him. Whether from the past or the present, that love had found its way back. I walked toward him, slowly, still clutching the journal. I don't remember everything yet, I said, but I remember how I feel with you. That has always been real. He closed his eyes, like he'd been holding his breath for years, and finally let it go. That's all I ever needed. I stepped into his arms, and for a moment, everything felt still. Safe. Like we had stitched two versions of our love into one story. It was our second beginning. But just when I thought the truth had settled, I noticed something tucked in the back of the journal. A folded letter. My name written on the front, in my own handwriting. I opened it, heart racing. If you're reading this, it means you found everything. But you should know, there's something even he doesn't know. My breath caught. There was someone else before the accident. Someone who was never found. And if you're still wondering what that lingering feeling in your chest is, it's not just love. It's a mystery you left behind. I looked up at him, stunned. He saw the fear in my eyes. What is it? He asked. I didn't answer. Because suddenly, I wasn't sure the story was over. Maybe we had solved one part of our past, but another door was just beginning to open. What do you think the hidden truth could be? Who else was part of her forgotten life? Comment your theories. The next chapter could change everything. I stared at the letter, my breath caught somewhere between the past and the present. The idea that there was someone else, someone tied to a version of me I didn't even remember, sent a quiet storm through my chest. My husband stood across from me, unsure whether to step forward or give me space. I folded the letter slowly and looked up at him. He deserved to know. We had rebuilt so much in a short time, and if there was any chance of truly moving forward, it had to be with nothing left hidden. I handed him the note. He read it silently, his brows knitting together. When he finished, he looked at me not with jealousy or fear, but with something deeper, concern. Do you want to find out who it was? He asked gently. I thought about it for a long moment. The old me might have said yes, desperate for closure. But this version of me, the woman standing here now, rebuilt from love, trust, and a second chance, knew what mattered most. Maybe one day, I said quietly, but not now. I want to focus on the life we have, not the one I lost. He reached for my hand, and I didn't hesitate. We sat together in that quiet room, surrounded by memories from a past we no longer needed to chase. They were reminders of how far we had come, and how love, real love, can survive even when everything else fades. Over the following weeks, we talked more openly than we ever had. I began journaling again, not to remember what was lost, but to hold on to what we were building now. The room became our space, not for secrets, but for healing. And even though that final twist still lingered in the back of my mind, it no longer felt threatening. It was just another thread in the fabric of our shared life. So maybe love isn't always about knowing every piece of the puzzle. Maybe it's about choosing someone, again and again, even when the past tries to rewrite the story. And in the end, that choice is what gave our relationship its true power. If you were in my place, would you have opened that room? Would you have wanted to remember, or kept moving forward with what you had? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd want a sequel that explores the mystery in the letter, let me know below. Your thoughts shape what comes next.